long.
Good evening, welcome to the Flooring Models Show. Here we are with you live on the 14th of October 2021 after what has been a very, very busy week. How are we doing this evening, gentlemen? Are we all okay?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Good.
Yeah.
No comment.
Talking about Fraggle Rock tonight, then.
Is it Fraggle Rock? I used to like Fraggle Rock.
I used to like the little green people in it, the doozers.
The Doozers, yeah. Yes. What was the big giant people called out in the outside world? Can't remember that.
Humans.
Anyway, trust you're all doing very well at home. Can somebody give us a thumbs up if the sound is different or better or worse tonight? Because I'm trying something new.
You know what? Thanks for that.
What? Why? What have you forgot?
Put my proper mic on.
That might help as well. So yes, because I've changed a few settings and a few things in here. Phil, you're a bit quieter than the others. I might be able to adjust that. Hold on.
So trying something new. What can go wrong?
There you go. Tried something new. We've just hopefully that's a little bit better. Is everything good? Only Phil sounds muffled. Muffled? Hello, coming in, testing.
You sound perfectly fine to us. So
Yeah.
Yeah, perfectly fine to us.
Yes.
Phil, a bit quiet. Is that a bad thing? Question mark.
Oh, thanks. No, just try a different setup for all the audio today. So hopefully there's no...
Really,
We shouldn't
really
have an
quiet.
echo. That's what I'm trying to get rid of, is that bloody annoying echo and the lip sync being completely out. So that's what we've gone for tonight. So it's all right.
Yes.
Hold on. I'll pull this down this way a bit. Look, I'll stretch this down. I need the microphone right here. A set of headphones and I'm good to go. And it's podcast land then, isn't it? So...
Podcast, yeah.
It might
Can
be
I
that the battery's on its way out on the mic, for all I know.
Can I just put something to bed? Phil mentioned on Wednesday that I was no longer with us.
I didn't say that at all.
As you can see, it was greatly well. I wouldn't say greatly exaggerated, but exaggerated. Yes, I'm not particularly of good health at the moment, and I've got to go into hospital in a week or so's time for a little operation.
There you go.
Yes.
And then he'll be back to good health.
Yeah,
Well, on the way back to good health.
Yeah.
definitely.
They found some of the good stuff in me that needs coming out.
It's an episode of Casualty now. Right.
I was going to say he'd be going into hospital for a little operation, and then the wonderful Andrea will be
And the trans.
get on the NHS these days.
Yes. So
Right.
yes, once that operation's gone well, he'll be back. It is
Can I
fine.
just say, we are all inclusive on this site, so hey.
That's what we've said.
You know.
Absolutely. I don't mind as long as he's happy. I've said
Exactly.
this all the way through.
I do apologise if I'm not answering any of my messages as quick as normal, or for Matt answering your emails.
I've answered emails today. I've been very good.
That's what I'm apologising for.
But my emails answering, oh thanks, they're not that bad. I have got spell checker, you know.
Yeah. Thank God for Grammarly.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I installed it.
absolutely. So what we're going to talk about then? Come on.
I don't know. This is the thing. I suddenly got that message that said, "What's tonight's topic?" and I hadn't given it a total clue, to be honest. Yes, we need a topic for tonight. Come on, guys. Everybody in chat. What do you want to talk about tonight? And we will cover that conversation. Quick. Come up with some good ones for us, and we can chat because we haven't got a clue. I've been busy doing reviews all day.
Pick something, or it's going to be a very short show.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So, Elliot, whilst you're just deciding, you guys keep an eye just to plug this. Obviously, I've done the review today of the Hurricane, or the Hurry Story, as they call it. That is up. Again, it's the standard Armour Hobbies kit, which is really, really nice, with all of their goodies on. And I have to say, you know, by the time you put all this lot into this, it's like the ultimate Hurricane, let's face it. There's absolutely tons and tons of detail in there that you never knew you needed, but hey-ho. It does come with it, and it comes with all the exhausts and the resin wheels and all the bits and pieces, and then you get that one sprue, which is the Armour Hobbies Hurricane. So, yes. There it is.
So we've got some decent shout outs here, right? So we're not definitely talking about a stupid Lancaster. That ain't happening.
No.
What was the other one? Armour we've got. Could talk Armour. Swapping kit. Sci-fi modelling. Not bad shout, is it? Sci-fi modelling.
Yeah.
How untidy PM was. Yes, that's a good point. We could talk about that, but we're only on for an hour and a half, so we can't.
No. Hey, don't knock it. Don't. You know, we were sorting stuff out today, Matt, weren't we? We were thinking new racking and all this.
I tell you, Big Doug. Or your brother.
Oh, yeah.
More to the point.
It's all right. We've got a connection. Hopefully, we'll be able to get a deal.
Big Wayne.
Yeah, that's it. Big up, my lovely brother, Mr. Wayne Flory. Just have to say,
Harry's posted a link. So does this mean a 48-0 from Edard?
Looks like it, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
what, a new tool?
Does it?
Yeah,
Does
new
it?
tool. It
Well,
says Edard Design and Tools 2021.
Mm.
We've not got long to get it out, have we? Yeah, the new
I was going
zero.
to say, if it's coming for 2021, they're going to have to get their finger out, yeah, because like they've only got 2 months really left.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Simon's pulled back group builds and Sigrid did that last week. Simon, watch last week's show
Yes.
and the weekend before.
How about organisation of model shop shelves?
Yeah.
I think because it still says 2020 group SIGs and group builder in the
No, I know.
chart.
It never got changed. As I say, I'm completely out of whack today.
Wait,
I've
it
done a
says
couple of
it-
reviews and still sorting everything out. So
Right, we need to get a pre-order up because it says it's available in December the 1st.
oh, so hopefully we might see something.
Have we got a price or anything?
Yeah.
No.
Has anyone got the info?
I tell you what, Mark's hit it on the head because I said this earlier. Kit maintenance and repairs,
True.
What?
especially a 410 with battle damage.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
hasn't got, that was just the light. It made it look
Yes.
like it was off its gear, but it's not. It's fine.
Oh right, that's they proper dropped that zero then, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really dropped that secretly.
It's a Type 21, so I don't know how that fits in with what Hasegar and Tamiya have already done.
David
The
says 7th
Tamiya
of
one's
December.
pretty bloody good, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with the Tamiya one.
You know.
I think that's how they should do it. It's like none of this like announce it 10 years before it's due to be released.
Yeah, I like it when they do this.
Just
Announce
suddenly
it.
say, right, you're getting this next week.
Yeah. It is a better way of doing it, isn't it? Just announce it and then release it quickly.
Yeah.
Just gets on people's nerves, doesn't it, when it gets delayed?
Yeah.
Hey Dennis, it wasn't 50 kilometres on mine, it's miles. You know, the big proper ones. I was getting 53 by the time I got home. I think
Yeah,
that's
what a
very impressive.
What are kilometres?
Yeah, what are kilometres? Is that like arms? But no. Somebody, did you see that on Facebook? Worked out how many miles an hour I was averaging and all the rest of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Apparently I was averaging just under 70 mile an hour then in that case to be able to do that distance at that miles and all the rest of it. So somebody got the calculator out, didn't they?
I was quite chuffed up just because obviously we've been away this week.
That's why it's chirpy, by the way, because he's been away on holiday.
I got over 600 miles out of a tank full of fuel.
How big's your tank?
Tank.
I don't know how big a tank it is, innit? But it's like I filled it up, 65 quid's worth of diesel.
Wow. That's a lot of miles, that, 65 pounds.
And there was, go to say, there was massive confusion when you posted up about you getting the price for your Mazda.
Oh, what, when we were at the Ferrari garage, Dean?
Yeah, but me and Matt didn't see the picture.
We didn't get a picture come through.
Oh, didn't you?
No.
Yeah. So then when you
Yeah, no,
posted
that-
another picture of that other car, I thought you traded it in for that.
we went to Lyndhurst in Hampshire, and there's a Ferrari dealership there. Very nice it was too.
But it was.
Hmm.
Do they do installments?
Yeah. Could you pay him in plastic?
50 years installment plan.
Probably.
All Lynn could moan at was how am I meant to get me flipping shopping in the boo?
Yeah.
But that's
Not how do you get in and out of the bloody thing? 'Cause it's so
Yeah,
low.
you use a
Yeah.
skateboard to get in and out.
Yeah.
You've done practical, that isn't it?
Mm.
but yeah, there was a few quid's worth there. Put it that way.
But there was.
Very nice indeed it was.
So I think the consensus in chat is they want to talk about armour tonight.
I
I
think
love
so.
it.
Yeah, and they're talking about the cost of fuel.
Yeah.
Okay. What an interesting podcast this is going to
Can
be.
I also just ask a question? Is electric cars,
Yeah.
now that electricity has gone up by 300% or whatever it is at the moment, does that mean electric car will cost you more to charge than it would be to fill a petrol car up?
I'm not being funny. The batteries in electric cars are going to run the house.
Mm. Yeah, but don't forget, if you've got a, I don't know if it works for all models, but certain electric cars, you can use them like a generator to power your camping and stuff. You
You've
just
got to charge
reverse
them,
them, use the battery.
You've got to
from
charge
it.
up in the first place. Got to charge up in the first place, haven't you?
Yeah, but it's quite
Yeah,
handy if you're off camping. You just plug the car in and watch telly.
I
You
think
do-
it's
Works
still
the other way
cheap.
round.
That's not camping.
You power your computer, your compressor. Beats
Yeah, it's
attaching
still
it to the
charging.
tyre.
Yeah, but I was reading somewhere they said that charging a equivalent electric car, I mean, I must admit it was a Porsche, was 70% of the cost of the equivalent petrol car, which would have been a Porsche. But
Right.
if then electricity now has gone up that much, surely it'd start tipping it up towards the same price as it would be for petrol.
Mm.
I think so. If petrol comes down. I mean, I do know random train fact. They're taking electric trains off and putting diesel trains on because it's cheaper to run the trains with diesel. One of the freight companies is mothballing their electric trains because they're too expensive. That's gone to plan, hasn't it?
It is, you see. I think they need to bring back the horse and cart. That's the future.
Absolutely.
That's how it should be.
Yeah,
More
he
sedate.
said that's
We need to get those canals open again, cleared. Go back
yeah,
a
it
few
is. That's
decades.
using the cost of ionity, which are supposed to be expensive.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my car for a few more years, I think. Right, well, we're going to talk about armour then, are we? Or
Armour.
price-
Yes.
price of- Might,
I tell you what we're going to talk about armour. What would you like us to talk about armour?
Hmm.
You can see we're really planned this week.
Yes.
I was going to say over to Matt and Andy then, because they're the armour experts.
Yes.
Over to Andy then.
Yes, I do have a photo etch bending tool. I have one here. Oh, I have two. Look, very nice they are too. Does it ever get used? Never. I use the flat one occasionally, but I usually use bending
Yeah.
pliers because I'm really lazy.
But I've got the little bug,
Hmm.
and I actually do use that quite a bit for doing bending stuff. But I've got a bigger one that I never use.
No.
I don't even know where it is, to be honest with you. But what armour do we like to build?
I'll
World
dig-
War II or Cold War?
dig out-
Like I said before, that my main thing was always German armour. World War II German armour was all at one time. That's all I ever built. But there's such a wide range in German armour as well. That's a good thing, because they changed. If you look at a British or an American or Russian World War II armour, they're predominant, unless you go into like North Africa, they're predominantly green, and they say the same green throughout the war, even though there's various million shades of like olive drab.
Mm-hmm.
But Germans they started off with grey, then they went to like grey and browns and then they changed to the sand colour. I know I'm not saying the names, but then like they changed to like the sand, the green, and the browns. and then towards the end of the war, they basically chucked anything on it they could find on it. So there's such a wide variety in German army of what you can build, which is that one of the good things I like about them. But how about you, Matt?
About me, you can't beat a Panzer, to be honest, can you really? Because but I think now that was like back 20 years ago when like we were talking about Dragon, weren't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was mainly what I used to build.
That's what they did, and that's what sells. Tiger tanks, Panthers, King Tigers, whatever.
STS and why did the Germans give their armour such ridiculously long names?
Because that's Panzerkampfwagen 4.
The models, aren't they? Model numbers.
Yeah, it's not ridiculous to the Germans, was it?
It's no more ridiculous than a M4A1.
Yeah.
At least that's it.
Yeah, but then then you got the M4A1 and the M4A2. What's the difference between M1 and A1 and A2?
I don't know, but I'm sure somebody does.
I do.
One's got an air conditioning unit bolted on the boot.
But A1's got a radial engine, and the A2's got two diesel engines.
Oh, one of them's gas turbine, isn't it?
Yeah, that was that. Yeah, that's the radial engine. Yeah.
Oh right.
Oh yeah, and the gas turbine. So that was A3, A4.
Don't know. You see,
Yeah.
I'm lost.
There you go.
Yes, the pros and cons against a prop radial or a turbine engine.
Here, Nathan switched off that much. He's done some modelling, look.
Yes, that's it. He's built a tank.
He's gonna put his overhead on and build something.
Okay, look, I'll start this. Let's get this somewhat on track. Let's just start with some of the basics and then we can move into some more of the details. So, starting off with, who do we think is the best manufacturer that does armour?
What, currently?
Currently, yeah.
Jeez.
I think you've got to include Ryefield, Meng.
Well, I think your contenders really, you've got your Tamiya Dragon, and obviously you've got Ryefield who've stepped up to the mark, Takum, Meng, haven't you? Sort of, that have really pushed it over the last few years.
Not being an armour person, I would go for Tamiya or Zvezda, purely because of their simplicity.
That's it. I think if you are coming back to armour, you can't go wrong with like what John's just said, because they are. I mean, some people put like Trumpy and Border and all the others, AFV Club, and again they all do good subjects.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of crossover between obviously RFM at the minute and Border and Takum, but we all know why that is. But for me, especially if you're into Soviet stuff and Russian stuff, Trumpeter are by far head and shoulders above everybody, because they do everything.
Yeah.
Every variant of every T64 to 72 to all sorts. I mean, I've just seen there's been a release today of like, oh God, what's the company that go to Telford that do like the radar units, the Russian radar units? Panzershot. Well, one of them's been released by Trumpy now, which is absolutely cool, because I think they've re-released it as a trench digger before, the actual tractor unit, I suppose you could call it. But now it's the one with the big radar on it.
Imagine trying to get that to a model show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, just breathing on it looks like it's going to fall to pieces, doesn't it?
See, some people have mentioned, like, for example, Tamiya. And Richard says that Tamiya is best balance for results and buildability. 100% agree. But then someone else has also mentioned AFV Club. And AFV Club are very good, but they're very, very technical and finicky. Yeah, you try and build some of their kits and do the road wheels on a Chieftain. Or Chieftain, a Centurion, sorry, yes, that's what's in the first place. Yeah, the proper difficult. And also try and do the suspension on a Asuka, on a Sherman. Brilliant engineering on it, fantastic the way it goes together. But it's so fiddly trying to get like little rubber bushes in and like things to make the suspension work. It's sort of like it's fantastic, but then, like I said, then you get like the simplified versions that Tamiya can do that look equally as good, but with like a tenth of the number of parts.
You see, I need to dispel a myth about these seams, because Neil's put a question up. Are seams less important? No, they're as important as they are on an aircraft kit. It's just the different seams.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't have one straight down the middle that you've got to sand out, but still, you need,
I think it's that thing, though, isn't
of
it? The great thing about armour is that you can, from a manufacturing point of view, because they tend to be quite flat, generally, the seams can be put on corners, on edges, isn't it? So I think that's where armour, you don't have to worry about seam lines like you do traditionally on curved like vehicles or aircraft, because of the way it actually is, and for blending things in. Armour is one of those things where you could, from a manufacturing, because it's flat, you can run it to the edges. It's not like you've got a curve that you have to make us break the seam so you can continue the curve in moulding and things like that. But again, that's when I think when people talk about simplicity about some kit manufacturers and others are not, I think that also boils down to that old age thing of how competent that manufacturer is about tooling a part to be able to make it in one, whereas another company might have to make it in 2 or 3 bits because of the cost. Because obviously, if you're going to make a complex shape, like we're talking about that suspension set, some manufacturers can get multi-part injection moulding to mould it in 1 or 2 parts, where another company hasn't got either the technical details to be able to do it or the finance to do it, because we know tooling is very, very expensive. So they might break it down into more parts, which makes it more complicated, but it's a more cost-effective way of that manufacturer to do it. And I think that sometimes as well, age comes into it as well, because modern injection moulding has come on leaps and bounds like everything else has in the world over the last sort of 25 years. So some of the older kits used to be, quite finicky the way they went together. But, if you see in some of the ways that even turrets and that can be moulded almost in one now, whereas before you would have to put them together. But again, you've seen it in other ways of hulls, lower hull sections on armour. From my point of view, is not necessarily a massive armour builder. It's funny how Tamiya did one-piece ones with not a lot of detail on. Then they seem to be done in multi-part, so you could get all that detail onto them. And now it seems to be that those companies were doing them as one again. But recently, when I did like the Meng Panther, that's multi-part. So the hull is like the base, and they put the sides, the ends on as well to make up the hull, where Tamiya do it in one traditionally, So again, I think it comes down to...
I was going to say, do you not think, certainly with armour, do you not think there's been a trend over probably the past 10 years of manufacturers all vying to get the biggest part count to put on the box?
But again, the thing is, if you do speak to... and as I say, Carl was a designer for a certain company, and he's guilty of it. We've spoken to Pranjit about it as well. They will totally deny that it ever comes into a parts count, because as far as they're concerned, the parts count is actually somewhat the enemy because of tooling costs. The more parts are in it means the cost of the kit goes up. So if they can make it with less parts, it means the tooling is cheaper, which means there's more profit in the kit. So, and I know it's that thing where as a modeler we sit back sometimes, and I think because we're quite skeptical people, we might sit here and think, oh well, they only, they're making it so it looks like it's 1,200 parts in a kit, so it's got to be excellent and that. But it is that thing though, how often, and it's true because Carl did say this to me, and I know it's been spoken about in the forum as well, how many times do you actually take any notice of how many parts are in a kit? When you're looking at a kit to build it, do you ever look at it and go, oh, it's got 500 parts?
No, but do you not think, like, the manufacturers with armour, they tend to... I know every kit normally has a part count somewhere on it, but from what I've seen, a trend with armour is that they like to put it in a more prominent place on the box with armour. And the last 5 to 10 years, I mean, it's been ridiculous. You've had kits with like 4-figure part counts,
I've got a theory on this, John. Aircraft are for, are a simple thing for simple folk, isn't it? Where armour's obviously, for proper modelers.
Real modelers.
But you get people like Tamiya and Zvezda, and it's like the kits look, when they're built, they look just as good.
Yeah.
But you've got like Lincoln neck tracks. Zvezda, as you know, Matt, you even get a jig to build them on.
You do, yeah.
It
is. Yeah, that's good design, isn't it? I think the thing was the change was obviously. I think somebody's mentioned, oh, you've never mentioned Italeri.
Agreed.
But back in the day, literally, there was Tamiya and Italeri, and Italeri were leaps and bounds ahead of anybody else at the time. I'm talking 70s and 80s here. And then obviously there was a change. It's just like I've always said with Italeri, they kind of just rested on the laurels, I think. They never, I don't know, they never pushed on. I think, and got overtaken by everybody. And now obviously you know, every man and his dog's doing it with every probably subject. It's like with aircraft, you can probably now get every sort of armoured vehicle that's ever been used by somebody or other, you know. And then we had this sort of, I suppose, trend with interior kits like what Phil's showing with Attack'em, I think, and then obviously Mini Art and Ryefield, and which is you know, people crying out for them because they wanted the detail. Oh, I can't have the hatches open because there's nothing in there unless you obviously got a figure to stick in it. But not everybody's confident doing figures or that genre of it. So they wanted interior kits, but then that has just pushed the parts count, the build time and everything. And half of it you don't see. I do think it's overkill with full interiors. I do think partial interiors are good. Yeah. You know, driver's compartment, bit of gun breech and a bit of turret. If you've got that, that's fine. But Phil's got with full suspension. Well, it's literally the tank from ground up in real life.
Yeah.
And you don't see it.
Wrong one.
Can you just go back to seam lines we were talking about?
Mm.
Things on armour, you find that it's either sheet metal, where it's got natural seam lines anyway, and so they can they can cover it up easily with welding, or it's cast. I mean, I don't know. I know a little bit about plastic moulding, but I know absolutely nothing about metal casting. But I'd imagine in a way it's like similar to each other, in the way you can build in they've both got mould lines and seam lines from the castings and from the moulding, so you can build that into T-34s and things where they've got the casting on the turrets. It's a natural line for joining two pieces together, and on Shermans as well, isn't it? It's like you get the
Shermans have got it.
Not Shermans. Oh, T-54s and things like that. You got the natural lines where it's it goes round, and they use that as a natural join of that bead line, don't they? Where it's been cast into two pieces and welded together. So in some ways, it's easier to hide the seam lines on armour because they generally fall on natural places. Whereas, like we were saying, on aircraft, unless it's a BF 109 that does have a seam line down the spine, most of them don't, and you have to then start messing around and filling the seams in, don't you?
I also think there's this myth of armour kits of I've got a mistake, I'll just cover it in mud.
Yeah.
And that winds me up a bit. I'll be honest, that does wind me up because I think, just put some mud over that. It's not quite like that. It's a bit more, I suppose, refined than just slapping random.
Yourself, I do it all the time. It's a bit like if the track isn't running right, bit of grass.
But then again, you know what I mean? Because I do put mud and stuff on it, but I think obviously it runs on the ground, so it's going to get dusty. It's going to get muddy. It's like anything, isn't it? But then I think you've done all that detail. Why cover it all up with layers and layers of mud and crap? Do you know what I mean?
All right, I've mentioned a few negatives with armour, but I think the one big plus with armour that it's given the whole hobby, not just armour, is the last 15, 20 years is weathering.
Yeah.
Because I think that's it's brought the whole hobby a whole new level, hasn't it? You know, Mig, when he started out, was all armour, isn't he?
Yeah.
People like Mike Rinaldi, people like that. And their weathering techniques and the whole thing about weathering has made its way over to all genres, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Which I think is a massive plus.
I think again,
yeah,
it's that thing. I think, you know, obviously back in the day there was a real thing called the dark side was armor, wasn't it? I think, you know, over the last, I would say 10 years of doing this and with floor remodels and all the rest of it, I think one of the things that has changed over that period is that you used to get very encamped. You were an aircraft modeler. You didn't do armor because that was seen as the dark side. You know, if you did ships, you were just weird, you know, because like that's just, you know, that's on another level, that is. But that's how it was. It was almost this entrenched thing about aircraft modelers, armor modelers, and that. And it was spoken about with armor as being on the dark side, wasn't it? And that's how it actually was. And it was treated almost as a separate hobby at one point. But again, I think it's one of those things that the internet has helped out with, certainly social media and stuff like that, is that aircraft modelers have looked at armour modelling, like John has said, and seen the weathering that's done on that, and then transferred a lot of the same, you know, sort of styles, and certainly things like fading paintwork down. We often spoke about how I love that real deep faded look to armour. It's not realistic, but I do like it. And they do it to aircraft as well now, and you see aircraft like it have come along. And again, and I think it's that thing where people then bounce back the other way. They see certain things people doing with aircraft, and then they'll do it with armour as well. But what's really nice, I suppose, is over the last sort of 10 years, this encampment has gone. You don't really hear of the dark side. You don't hear about, oh, you do armour. It's just you're a modeler these days. No one seems to care what you actually do, as long as you're part of the hobby and in the greater good of it as well. So I think that's quite nice, that armour isn't seen as a separate genre almost to modelling. You know, you get the people who do the aircraft, and you know, you get them like this and they're everything, and armour just seems a million miles away from it, where technically it's not, because I'm lucky and I build a bit of everything, and I still use all the same principles of weathering, especially, and everything. It doesn't matter if I'm doing armour, if I'm doing helicopters, if you're doing aircraft. It's the same thing. It just depends on how far you want to go with it. That said, if I've got some dodgy joins or something that's not quite right, then I do say that with armour you could hide it a bit easier, because you could naturally weather it a bit more in that specific area, where if you had, say you had a seam line open up to you on an aircraft, on, you know, a seam or something running down the spine, you can't hide it. Yeah, if you did have something, you could literally add a little bit of detail, put tools on it, bit of, you know, stowage, and you could hide an entire area with it with armour as well, which is quite nice. But again, like everything, it is finding that balance of, it looks stupid, and why have you put that on there? And it looks really nice because it's got all the stowage on it. Yeah, but you could have bollocked stuck down the back end by the engines, and you think, oh, I can cover it up, chuck a tarp over it, you know, and that type of thing.
Good question. If you were to build an aircraft, what two pieces of aftermarket would you put on the aircraft? What would you buy to help you build the aircraft?
For aftermarket wise, if it's aircraft, depending on its scale and how easy it is to see, obviously colour photo etch for the interior, because I'm useless at painting detail. I've never been very good at it, and when you come to cockpits and dials and switches and stuff like that, I'm really just going aftermarket. And then the other thing as well is normally seats. Sometimes if the seats are a little bit basic, go with a resin aftermarket one. If it's got moulded in harnesses, or if they are separate, you can really bring it to life. But normally I always used to say a nice seat, resin seat with all the details into it, is a very much a worthy upgrade to an aircraft, because it's quite cheap as well. It's not.
So if we were to build armour, what two things would we put onto armour to help enhance it?
So I would say tracks, metal tracks, because I think metal tracks have that real nice look to them. I put it in the cabinet now, but it's funny, when I picked up the my Berlin Chieftain, it's got that thing with the tracks, and they don't look good when you're holding it up in the air because they're just hanging down, but as soon as you put it down, it looks heavy. They conform properly, and they lay right across it, and obviously on all the you know, the sprockets and the idlers and all the rest of it, the return wheels, it looks as it is heavy, and I think it just gives it a nice stance. It's the equivalent of putting weighted wheels on an aircraft. You know, if you've got round wheels on an aircraft, they look a bit odd. It looks like they're levitating, you know. But as I say, armour's very similar to that as well, unless you're really good at doing it. But like this one's got fixed tracks, which he's still stuck down. If I can get him off, he's blue tacked in. But again, it doesn't you know, they're now flying and it's there. Great if it's on a flat surface, probably get away with it. But again, I think if it had metal tracks in it, it would just have that, just the way it sits and does it. I think that's a worthy upgrade to armour. But again, they get expensive very, very quickly, don't they?
The guys in chat are pretty much saying metal tracks and barrels, or barrel, which I'd wholeheartedly agree, and I know Matt would.
I'm not so bothered about barrels.
I was going to say, I've never quite got the barrels, because if you get a modern kit slide moulded, as long as you careful with cleanup.
Yeah, but that's exactly on modern kits. If you try and build, say, a Tamiya Tiger 1, and where you then got to clean the barrel up, it's a bit.
But then if you're used to doing seam lines on aircraft, there's nothing
yeah, true, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't think I've never bought an aftermarket barrel in my life.
Because once it's all painted, it doesn't look any different, really.
No.
I think my upgrades is like MGs, like MGs or Brownings or whatever, the actual machine guns rather than the actual barrel, because I think that can be a weak part on certain manufacturers' kits.
Yes.
Obviously drilling a barrel out, because they're always moulded thingy, aren't they? If it's only like got the end sticking out, then I just drill it out. I'm not really bothered. But if they're on show, shall we say, like tops of Shermans or whatever, then yeah, I do think an upgrade on that is necessary. But I can upgrade that off Dragon's Gen 2 weapons, not most of it, like an MG or something. So it's not really, I suppose it's not really after market, it's just kit bashing, I suppose.
Neil says tracks, but not the cheating ones that Matt and Andy use.
Why is it cheating?
Definitely not, no.
Why is it cheating?
That's no different really from buying a fully colour photo etch cockpit.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's just taken that bit out. You've still got to weather tracks, haven't you? They still, like you've got them there, they just turn up, they're still metal. You've got to paint and weather them, or, you should say burnish them or whatever, haven't you?
Yeah, not much painting.
I certainly think as far as
stick them in a tub and then burnish them, but yeah.
As far as photo etch is concerned, it lends itself far better to armour than aircraft.
I do think you can go the clamps. If you can build clamps that work. I've never managed to do it. I just can't seem to build them, because that's why I bought them 3D printed ones. And grills, grills if they're going on the back, because some of them don't have them. A lot of kits now, more than modern kits, put in a photo etch set of grills, where if you're going back to old school, there was never you had to go. Edard used to just literally do a set, so you didn't have to buy all the photo etch. I don't know, I'm just not a fan of photo etch, full stop. We ought to have a show on photo etch, actually.
Oh,
that's
I must admit, I'm not
because we could rant for hours about photo etch and the pros and cons. Like Nathan's just sat there, so not to leave him out, but photo etch, Nathan, are you a fan or not?
No. As a pain in the bum. Really.
You see, but why do we buy it? What is the first thing? If you buy a kit, you go and look for the aftermarket and you will look at photo etch.
I think, the instrument panels, if they're printed, they're good. But when you're all folding and fiddling and bending and like the photo etch flap sets,
I think I mentioned before about that Tamiya Sherman, the Israeli Sherman that I did. What's it called? What's the Tamiya?
Can I just answer Neil, because he's put it up twice before it flicks off again. He's on about like top tier companies for aircraft. Are they top tiers same for armour kits?
They're not the same. They're not the same. You wouldn't put Tamiya as a top tier for armour necessarily, would you?
No.
They're very good, but not top tier compared to Takom, Meng, etc. But Border.
I think there's a different thing of the ease of build to the more complex with armour. And I suppose you get that with aircraft to a point, but I think there's definitely a variation of, again, I suppose part count does come into it, do you know what I mean? But I think the Tamiya ones are the more relaxing to get together, aren't they? The way they design, like Zvezda's gone, and probably ICM, and companies like that have gone for a quicker build.
Different
over-
engineering.
Yeah, definitely. Rather than like you say, like with the Ryefield or some of the other ones as well. I don't know. It's hard to say, really. I wouldn't say.
Also, it depends what you're looking at, isn't it? Tamiya do this thing where it's not like this. They tend to be the external
Yes.
bodies of it, which means they
Yeah.
go together really quite straightforward. Like I said before, all of this in here, you know, as lovely as this kit is, and I'm very proud of it, I won't build another one because it was a lot of work. You're buried in all the suspension under there that you don't see, and the gearbox and all the rest of it, which is great. And I think that's like Mini Art as well, isn't it? Mini Art do some great kits. Incredibly technical to go together though. There's a lot of stuff going down there. If anybody's ever bought or you've seen a review of a Mini Art kit, you open it up and it's like stuff full of sprues, isn't it? And there's lots of very small parts on that sprue. So
right, my reason for building armor is probably not the armor. It's probably like the thought of I can put this on this base and add these figures. My build armor now to go with figures.
Yeah. I was just going to say, the thing with armor is it's the diorama side of it as well, isn't it?
Because to me, a built tank with no figures is dull, and that's kind of why I've gone off building more. No offense, Phil, but you know, it's only personal taste. Bring it back. But this is only my train of thought. Obviously, you know, I have seen fantastic models and not a figure near them. But for me personally, that's now what attracts me. I think with that subject, I've either seen a photo online or something, and it's like spark the imagination to go, you know, I can do this, I can put it on this scene, or, you know, I like the human element to things, which is why I'm attracted to painting figures, I suppose, because it does add the human touch to a kit, I suppose, for me.
Just in chat, Jerry says, did Tamiya stand still in their development and not raise the game against newer manufacturers? They used to be the main producer way back. There was Tamiya. The newer kits are still fantastically detailed, but they've stuck to the laurels where, like we're talking about the tub. It's a single piece tub generally on Tamiya, rather than being made out of 6 pieces. Just simple engineering, but it works. But they've now gone on to link and length tracks, which obviously are simpler than the single piece tracks. Sorry, multi-piece tracks. And the newer kits don't now use the vinyl tracks, do they?
No.
There was a crossover where you got both with them, but now they're mainly onto link and length tracks. So you're still getting the detail, but easier to put together. But the actual quality of the casting that you see on the armor, on the T54, T55, sorry, that Nathan's got, you can see all the little casting marks in the plastic. It's still up there, but they're not the same sort of engineering. They've got better engineering, simpler to put together than some of the other manufacturers. But I don't think they're any worse. I think they've moved on, but just in different ways.
I would have no qualms in building a modern Tamiya kit.
No, me neither.
At all. No, I mean that Hellcat's coming out, isn't it? And I actually fancy building that, because I think the other option is the FV Club one.
Yeah.
And it's quite a cool looking little tank destroyer, and I quite like it. So and they've done like the Achilles as well, and some others that I know other manufacturers have tackled. But again, I think the ease of build thing can come into play, and that's what they've always done since day one, since they produced it. Tamiya is just engineering of a nice build. It's not going to give you any headaches, is it?
So this kit here is 48 scale, and it's what, 2, 3, 4, 5 sprues.
Yeah.
And it's link and link track.
If you look at the casting on the turret,
it's got a nice
it really is nice in scale. Casting on it, it's like the way they're producing them still is still quality. It's still a quality kit, but like simplified and easy to put together and enjoyable to put together.
I mean, they've created a niche for themselves with 48 stuff, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean that's the kit built, and it's fantastic. I do like 48 scale armor, I must admit.
Yeah,
because it's quick to chuck together, and it's a nice size as well. It's not too big.
I like the way. I mean, I've done this. I've done their Firefly. I did put photo etch on this, but it fits in the palm of your hand,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's not. It's a nice size, and I've done their T34 as well. A few of the track links have fallen off the front of that, but I think these kits are really nice, sort of mojo fixes, and they're a nice change.
See, Tony says he hates link and length tracks and always go metal if possible. I think link and length, I think they're a good compromise, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, this one, I fluffed the tracks up a little bit, so I put mud in it. You can't tell.
Not hiding it with mud again.
Yeah, not hiding it with weathering, are you?
I really, if anybody's like me, an occasional or never build armor, these little Tamiya 48 kits are around the £20-ish price point, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And
So yeah,
they will build out the box. You don't have to add aftermarket tracks to them. I mean, this one's got a metal barrel on it, but it didn't really need it. And they're just a nice size.
Further to what Matt said a few minutes ago, I think the thing with armour is, yes, I mean, we've all seen some really nice dioramas with aircraft in, but when you compare even the best ones with a diorama that's like armour based, to me they just don't seem to tell the same sort of story. There doesn't seem to be as much life in them as an armoured based diorama.
I think the great thing with armour-based armour is that they're on the ground. So you can put them into a battle scene. Obviously with aircraft, naturally they're going to be in the air. And like I've always said, that in-flight models, to me, that's where aircraft belong. You do get aircraft that look okay on the ground, but a lot of them look so much better when they're flying. So that's where you're always going to have your problem, aren't you? Because obviously I've got Kev's stuff down here boxed up. And it all looks amazing, and some of it is quite simple dioramas, some of them are incredibly technical dioramas, but again with the figures on there and it's on the ground, it like he's got the one down in here going across the ploughed field.
Phil, pull it out, show it.
Right, hold on, give us a minute, talk amongst yourselves. Let me just disconnect.
I mean, my actual attraction with armour is probably not tanks, it's more soft skin vehicles, trucks, half tracks, armoured cars, things like that. I'm more into that than tanks, if I'm honest. I find them more my thing, you know.
Which then you're talking ICM come into play, don't they? Because they've done some fantastic.
Oh yeah, they've done the Leyland Retriever, and I'm itching to build that. And I've done IBG. I like IBG with their trucks and what they've done.
And their pricing as well, the value you get for what they cost.
Yeah. As I say, the truck mini art, there are loads of different sorts of trucks. They're bringing them out, and a lot of companies have gone that route now, because I think the tank market as such is saturated. You know,
Have they still got all the wheels on in the right place?
These have not left, because Kev's good, because he actually glues his down to the actual base. So they're indestructible in theory. But yeah, there you go. I'll stick that one down there. You can just about see that. There we go.
I was going to say, you're going to prove that, Phil, by dropping one on the floor.
Well, we tried it up at the unit, and they're still here.
Yeah, it's unbreakable Kev's dioramas, which thankfully they're good. Mirror models, I don't know. I don't know if they're in business or not. They've not released out for a while, but yes, they are amazing. Kev's a dab hand at doing these.
Yeah, he's good at this. He's got the hang of it now. Took him a while.
But it's composition as well.
Yes.
You need a dynamic composition for it to work as well. Like that's kind of going uphill through the ploughed field, so you've got a nice angle. It's on, you know, and that again, if you took the figures off that and took that off its base and just put it with nothing underneath it, I'm not saying it'd be plain and boring, but it wouldn't have the same effect as what it's got on the base.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
So yeah, I do. But I've rattled through some armour, and some of it's not on a base. But I think my plan is to actually make a base for them at some point. But I mean, that is not the most complicated base to produce, but it's very effective, and I like the mount of the umbrella because again, it tells a story. It's you know.
But then you say it's not a very, it doesn't look a very complicated base.
I'm not saying it's easy compared to what he does now.
Yeah,
that's a very simple base.
I was going to say that I certainly couldn't. If I had to go at doing a base just like that now, it would look nothing like that.
It looked like it looked like a plough field, wouldn't it, John?
Matt, do you know that FDF KZ? Is it a 198 or a 204 or something?
What, that big?
On the tracks, yeah.
Oh, that's the Panhard. It's the French armoured car from my
Italian one.
Is that what?
Is that Italian one or?
No, I think that is. Kev's on now. Look, and this is put. They look quite clean. They are, Kev. I've looked after them. I think that's the dragon kit. Kev will tell me in a minute. I think that's the dragon kit that he's done with the track one. But ICM do that version of. But it's a French Panhard armoured car. Kev will message me in a minute because he's watching.
It's all right. I've got
cloth
here somewhere. Here we go. It's all right. He's as good as new.
It's got his cloth. I tell you what, Kev, that's Phil's car. It's filthy. I'll tell you, that's why they dust it. That time, I wouldn't think he used to valet cars for a living.
Wait till he gets his Dyson out on that one with the trees.
Yeah, and his air blower.
Yeah, that's it. All right, see, look, it's mine now.
It looked like it's been through an hurricane.
So I'll just give it a rub with a microfiber cloth. They'll be fine.
Yeah. But,
yeah, so Kev, what is the Panhard? Is it a dragon one? Is it then?
I think he did
Is
tell
he in
me.
chat? I don't see him in chat.
He's watching because, like I say, he just messaged me. You know, it's like Chris has just put a picture up of the Trumpy, some Russian thing. I don't even know what it is, but it's cool. It looks good. You know.
But that's I mean, seeing those that Phil's got there now is a classic. I'll go to a model show and you see stuff like that, armour and dioramas and that, and then it's like, I come away and it's, right, that's it. Not an aircraft modeller anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going purely down the armour and diorama route. Every time without fail. They're just fun. They're just amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it's a whole nother genre, isn't it? It's not just armour.
I was going to say, I think,
obviously,
yeah, I think this is what we're talking about here, and then Kev is one of these people. He's a really nice guy, and he makes it and sounds really straightforward because he's very much, I would say, a practical modeler. So he uses what's around him. So he goes out in the garden and he pulls in foliage and junky bits and dirt out of his gutters and all stuff like that to make them up. Whereas obviously a lot of people go out and buy it, don't they? And they're buying all these different bits and pieces to do it. But I think he's got a natural flair, as you say, composition. It's literally like a snapshot, it's like a photograph of how he actually lays it out. He does this thing, which is a lot of his ones you would have seen, where he puts height, into the actual area. So again, this one, it's on a slope, it's going up. The last one he did, and the one that he did started actually at the PM store doing the demo of, wasn't it? Again, it's got composition because it's got different grades, so your eye is drawn all the way around it. And like I always say, part of modeling is almost, it's cheating the eye because you're looking at it all over. And a good way of doing that, as anybody will tell you, especially sort of cinematically, is making the eye work. Making it look all over. So you say down in here, you're looking very low down in here. Obviously you've got the figures, you've got the armour, but you're looking at it all the way up and the trees as well. So it's not, this isn't the focal area, it's all over it. It's the entire thing. The same with down in here, you've got the lower to the top, and your eye is having to work a bloody lot to go right the way over it. And because your eye's working a lot to look all around at all the little details, it gives it a fantastic sense of scale. So again, if you've just got something like that, that's just sat there like this, you look at the model, that's it. There's nothing else really to look at. So you're like, yeah, okay, it's nice, it's metally and all things like that, but that's about it. But obviously when you look at something like this, your eye is all over it, it's just a lot more to take in. So it has a huge presence and a massive sense of scale, whereas I say, something like that just on the ground isn't going to do it. And even if you had it, to be honest, on a diorama base, with a dispersal taxiway in a hangar, whatever, it's still not going to have the effect you'll get with something like on armor, I don't think. Not unless you're going to try and set it into a bigger picture,
It's built, even with armor, it's building the kit into the diorama, isn't it? I mean, you can see some great scenic dioramas and some great built armor, but if you just plonk the armor down onto the diorama, it just doesn't look right. It's the way Kev actually builds the kit into the base.
And again, like I've often said, the thing is with all of this type of work, as lovely as it is, it's one of those things where it's a lot of trial and error and it's a lot of sorting out, but I think it's that natural foresight. Obviously Kev's had something's popped in his head, normal, down into there to sort of give him an idea of a scene as this is. So I know he's got loads of reference books and bits and pieces like that. So I'm sure he's doing like a lot of us do, is that he might have seen something in a similar type of setting to it, and then he's adapted what he's got to put into that type of area, and then taken the clues and the various things as he's done it and worked his way through. But you do need a certain, we're back to that thing about artistic. Again, this is art. This is as I say, it's not just a plastic kit on a base. This is an entire scene. You don't dissimulate, do you? The figure to the track, to the actual vehicle itself, to the trees. It's all one thing.
It's a 3D painting, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's like a 3D basically painting, or a modern day 3D render. Of something, because you can look round it from every angle, and I've never looked at it this point of view, but because I'm talking to you guys, I'm looking from here down, and I've never looked from this point before, but it's amazingly detailed right the way through it. So no matter which way you look it from, there's still things to be seen down here and here and everything else like that. So yeah, I think it is very, very clever.
When it came to the shop, he showed all for reference photos. He's got plenty of like country lanes and walls and buildings and things, from going on walks and stuff, and just those sort of like reference photos and things, just for getting the ideas and putting them together into different dioramas. It looks fantastic.
But yes,
it's a definite skill, and it's the ICM kit he's messaged me, not the Dragon one as I thought it was. It is the ICM. So
because somebody in chat said it was Tamiya one. I didn't realise Tamiya actually Reeboks the ICM one,
yeah, they did, because normally only Reeboks is Teleri, but no, they Reeboks out of ICM. So it just shows really how good a kit it is if Tamiya have Reeboksed it to their market.
Yeah,
and Revel have Reeboksed one of the versions as well.
Yeah, they have. Yeah. I mean, ICM will get in bed with anybody, won't they? But no, it's testament, I think, to the kit. And again, it's not something you would probably pick for a manufacturer to do. It's not a Tiger tank, it's not a Sherman, it's not a T-34, it's a French armoured car from World War II, and that one's even on tracks. He ain't even got the tyres on it, has he? He's put it on sort of a on tracks and stuff. It's just it has got, I think it has got an interior, isn't it, for that one?
Probably, I don't know. I
Could
can't
you look
see
down
them.
a hatch, please?
No, all the hatches are closed.
Have they closed them? I thought the door open at the side.
I don't know.
Spin it round, have a look.
Rash.
No, I don't think so.
No.
No.
Could be wrong. There's something else.
Oh, look, it does come off.
Oh, God.
No!
Don't watch,
It
Kev.
did.
Shut your eyes. You start facing the wrong way, Kev.
But yeah, no, again, this is, we're getting slightly off track here, but this is what we're talking about. Like, obviously, for armour in dioramas, you've got this thing about where, it fits as well. If you're into aircraft, unless you're doing 72nd, right, you're getting into dioramas this big if you want it to fit in. That's your other trouble as well. The one thing I do like about building armour, and I've often said it, fits on your cutting mat. It doesn't matter which one it is, even if it was that big one I did down in there, with all the different components into that, it was still on the size of a cutting mat, which is great. Whereas obviously if you're doing aircraft, you've got a wing over there, you've got a fuselage over there, you've got gear, you've got bits, pieces, and it's all over the place. But the nice thing with armour, it's very compact modelling. You know, as we were saying, if you are one of these guys who, you know, working from worktops, you know, in the kitchen, dining room table, armour's quite nice because you can get it all on a cutting mat, a couple of boxes for your bits and pieces, and you're good to go. Whereas obviously if you're aircraft, they're just a pain in the arse, especially if you're doing big stuff, you know, because they just take up so much room.
It's all right. I'm just reading some chat. So it has got interior apparently.
Oh right, okay.
So I thought it did come with on the ICM kit, but
Shall I open the door and find out? Where's my knife? Right.
yeah.
Does the turret move? Oh no. I'll be like one of those judges. Oh no. It says do not remove from base.
Again, though, I think you know what I was saying. Like with the genre of armour, like you were just touching on 72nd aircraft. Is the variation you can get now of what people are doing in different manufacturers. Like I say, I think like the Tiger tanks and Shermans have been saturated by that many people that people are looking for different. ICM are brilliant for it to be going a bit off-piste, shall we say?
Yeah.
And I think like Gecko models now that are out are doing stuff nobody's ever been near it, to be honest. Bronco models, AFV Club, they just tend to just looking a bit left field at what's out there and about rather than the standard stuff you would think. And I think that was 72nd aircraft, and that's why I like the likes of Valem and Special Lobby and some of the more obscure, lesser companies, because they tackle subjects that the mainstream don't, and that's what interests me, to be honest, rather than, like I say, building really common stuff.
Mark says, where does he keep them all? If you're talking about Kev, for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
We've had a few. Unfortunately, now
Doncaster normally.
he's got to find somewhere to put them back at home now.
Yeah, that's it.
I've still got some, by the way, Kev. He's only bought a couple home. So
Tony says, what is Andy working on in the background? AA. To be fair, I've been working on this for so long. It's a
It's his shelf of doom.
It's a Tacom SDFKZ.
it's a ZSU.
Tacom ZSU, but this is the Hobby 2000 boxing.
Yeah, it's a 23-2.
Yes, they are metal barrels.
Yes, it is in mahogany.
Yes, it's in mahogany, and yes, I'm putting metal tracks on it. So the two things we're talking about, but to be fair, yeah.
We could. Hey, I tell you where we need to talk about while we're on about armour. Matchbox original with the bases, because we've all built them.
Oh yeah.
And we've all got a soft spot and a bit of rose tinted glasses with them, because I just think they were ace. I built one for the turkey shoot. Was it last year before? I can't remember.
Nathan's got one there, look, Sherman.
Nathan's got his Sherman.
Remember that well.
And do you know what? I'm probably tempted, if I can get one, I will build one for this year's turkey shoot, because I just think they're ace. I just think they're brilliant.
Yeah.
I think you dropped that then.
I did. I got my turret. It's not glued on.
The turret was it?
So we'll blur over that. No one will notice.
I think Phil should tackle one.
Hey?
One of the old Matchbox little dioramas.
Yes.
Should we do that then? An armour themed turkey shoot?
We're going to do an armour themed turkey shoot. We could do that.
Yeah, as long as it's Matchbox.
About Zvezda though, because I got this is a coffee pot lid.
Yeah.
And you can build a. I don't know if I dare tip this one up, but that is a Zvezda do nice 72 stuff.
They do actually. They do. A lot of companies have got on 72nd stuff as well, which is really now so detailed. It's a bit what we've always said with 72nd aircraft is like 48th detail or 32nd even on some of them. 72nd armour is just immense.
I did quite a few Fujami. They do some nice 72nd stuff. I did the Tiger, Panther, Japanese thing. So
I think 72 scale armour and 48 scale armour is good. So I really enjoy it.
I do like the 48 scale stuff. I wish there was more of that, really.
One of the guys said, what do you think? It's gone. I can't find out what it was, but he said, what do you think about the trend of 1/16th?
But again, that's not a new trend, is it? That trend was around a few years ago.
I mean,
for the big stuff.
Tamiya even done 1/16th, haven't they?
Yeah, Tamiya's done it. What's that one we've got up at the unit? Is that Trumpy thing I was looking at?
Trumpy T34, isn't it? We've got the The trouble if you're going that big is you need to detail it. It's like when you say about going up to 32nd aircraft, or even like the 1/18th scale, you know, like the I Love kit or whatever it is, or Hobby Boss, sorry, with the basics are there, but they're very basic. Because obviously if they were fully detailed, you'd be looking £1,000 a kit. It's not my thing. I'm not interested in them at all. They just don't do anything for me. Something that big.
If it's a Panzer One type tank, it makes sort of sense. But if it's anything bigger than a Panzer One,
you know, because I've got my Tiger down there, 1/16. Mine's the Heng Long radio controlled one, which we repainted, did it all and everything else like that. And again, it's metal, so it weighs an absolute ton. But yeah, you're into that thing like you do with aircraft. Where'd you put it? I kicked that thing literally around the floor. It's like a doorstop, you know. It's up now, and it is. Again, you're into that thing about where the hell do you literally put it? Because again, they just take up room. The barrel sticks out. How many times I've kicked it is unbelievable. It's been on the floor.
But for RC, it sort of makes sense though, doesn't it? Because you want something that looks the piece when you're driving it. But yeah, for armour, it's a bit a bit too much in it.
Yes. Yeah, I must admit, I don't see the thing about giant, you know, again, you're into this thing we've spoken about, obviously, with kits when they get too big. From an armour point of view, I think it's quite nice. Like, you know, I've often said that, you know, foot-long models, and that tends to be 35th scale armour, you know, is a perfect size. You know, 48 scale aircraft, perfect size. As soon as you move into the 32nd, one, it's taking up real estate for when you have built it and you want to display it. You know, especially if you are going to put them onto a little diorama base like this, because obviously if you suddenly move up to 16th scale, you're going to need a diorama base that big, you know. So again, you're into that realm of like, it suddenly becomes a bit of a, what do you do with it once it's built, you know, like the big aircraft. Luckily now I've got them all hanging on the wall, but you know, if you didn't have a wall to hang them on, what the hell do you do with them all, you know, short of having dust magnets hanging off the ceiling, and you know. So I think armour will go down that route. But again, exactly with Matt, as soon as you're into the bigger scales, it's got to look right. You've got to add those details because it's all on display. You know, and like we were talking about with this one, I'm still a great believer in if your eye needs to move around, it needs to pick out those details. I've said it before when I did the shuttle, you know, that 72nd scale shuttle is massive. If you didn't do, you know, the tile system onto it and all the rest of it, it would look like a kid's toy. You know, that's the trouble you get with armour, the big scale armour as well. Unless you go to town with it, adding all the details and putting the weathering into it and things like that to break it up to make your eye move round, it's going to look like a kid's toy, you know?
Yep, totally agree.
Are we doing any questions tonight? Or?
Question time.
Question time. I need the music.
Yeah, put music on.
I need music for that. I haven't got any music for that. We need to find question time music. Okay, Nick says, love the show, advice and your tips you give. I have an Airfix 1/24 scale Spitfire. John, get ready with yours in a minute. That I'm thinking of building. Have you? I have heard you guys mention that it's a bit of a pig. But I fancy testing myself with the model I have to actually work with and get good at. Any advice or tips? Or are there any aftermarket I should consider? Trumpeter?
Yeah, Trumpeter.
That's what I'd recommend.
Well, that kit's got to be 50 years old.
Oh, at least, isn't it?
It's a 70s kit. It's not that bad.
I think if you're going to build it, watch Phil's Revell Spitfire build that he's doing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the issues, especially in the wing joints, are exactly the same. A lot of raised panel lines on it, a lot of oversized rivets on it.
As for aftermarket, there's not really none. I think you can air scale do
Instruments
the photo etch instrument panel for it.
Yeah, you can get 24 scale seat belts, can't you?
You might, once in a blue moon, you can get resin wheels for it.
Yeah. There's very little aftermarket considering how long it's been out, isn't there?
Yeah. There's not like a full photo etch cockpit set or anything like that for it. You can get instrument
But I mean that goes for the whole Airfix 124th range, isn't it? There's hardly any aftermarket for any of it.
Can I just stop you there? The 109 I've got loads.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's why he's got the 109.
Well, so let's put it this way: he's got loads compared to all the other in the range.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But again, I think it's one of those ones where you just have to go in with your eyes open. That it is an old kit, it's a classic, it's going to test you. But if you're up for a little bit of filler, if you're up with, you know, as you say, just sanding, filling, smoothing out and all the rest of it, then it will build up to be a Spitfire. If you want a slightly easier route in a bigger scale, I'll go Trumpeter.
Can I just ask Andy what happened to his 124 Spitfire? Oh.
I threw it away.
Why did you throw it away, Andy?
Because it was crap.
There you go.
I'd ask myself the question is, how many large-scale Spitfires are you going to build?
One.
One.
And if it was one, I wouldn't build the Airfix one.
I'll build the Trumpeter one, which isn't brilliant either, but it's a lot better.
I wouldn't. I'd build a Tammy one because his next question is, so can you recommend a kit 48th or bigger?
And again, if he's looking at 24th scale, it's going to be the Trumpeter one,
24th, yeah.
If you're going to go 30 seconds, then as I say, I'm doing it right now. You've got two options out there. You can either go Revell, because they do them. And to be honest, it's not a bad kit. I think for the money especially, it's not a bad kit at all. It's definitely a contender. If you want to go no-brainer and money's no option, just do the Tamiya one.
Yeah.
You know?
Or I reckon, because that would be a Mark 1 Spit, would it? The 24th?
I think they did Mark 1 or Mark
1.5.
Yeah, Mark 1,
Take it all
Mark 5.
back. Oh, Jesus. This thing's as rough as toast, isn't it?
There is a secret to the Airfix 124th scale
You're on
kit.
camera, Nave, show them.
Oh, this is
how lovely that kit is. Come on, sell it. Have we got any in stock, Matt?
Probably one, I think. Yeah.
I think we've got them in the store.
Do you know what? It's as rough as toast.
The problem is, do you know all the gun bays are all open?
Yeah, I mean,
it's magazine bays and everything. None of them fit properly. Not a single one of them fit properly. So you're just like making.
The secret with those kits is to get.
You
need to get an as original box in as you can, because they've been re-released so many times over the years. The molds are just shot.
I mean, the thing with me, it's like the Airfix Buccaneer in '48. That was a bucket list kit that I've always wanted to build, and this is a bucket list kit that I've always wanted to build. The rivet detail's a bit of an issue. It's not as bad as the Harrier that they do in that scale, but you can sort of. It's got these really big fat rivets on it.
They're ship rivets, aren't they?
They are basically like.
Is that shit or ship?
Shit.
But then, when it goes over the top of the spine, how do you replicate that?
Well, I'm going to have to basically get those rivets off it and re-rivet it. Because the rivets over the spine are just
and that's a rabbit hole John's gone down with his Stuka, isn't it, John?
I mean, it's got like a ridge here. If I pick, that's a ridge that's on the seam line. So you're going to lose all the rivets on the spine. But it's one of those kits that's been around my whole life, literally.
Yeah.
Same age as me, and a bit older. And I've always wanted to build one. And now I'm wondering why.
The thing is, like, you know, there's lots of options out there. If you wanted to go 30-second on Spitfires and that, obviously Trumpeter do those as well, don't they? They're only about 30 odd quid. You know.
Can I just say Morris Marina around when I was born? I don't want to go out and buy one. I don't want no one.
I would think dimensionally, in terms of it's an accurate model of a Spitfire. It's just ancient, and it shows its age. And it's going to be a proper project, a good 6, 8, 9 month project to drag it out of the 70s into something more.
Oh, yeah. it is. And again, it's mindset, isn't it? Like we've discussed. If you really, like you said, it's a bucket list kit, you want to do it, then absolutely you go for it. You know what I mean? We can take the piss all we want, but you know, if it's something you want to do, then crack on it. I mean, look at there you go. There's a look. It's the
1996 boxing of it. So it was 21 years old. This is the Stuka, the Airfix Stuka. So this was 21 years old when it was re-released, and it is showing its age. You can see where there's been mold slippage, where instead of a part looking like that, it's sort of like that. So there's a lot of cleanup. A lot of the detail goes soft here and there, so I am going down the rabbit hole of re-riveting it. But it's just that thing. It's like Nathan said, it's a nostalgia thing. I built this kit as a kid, and I've always wanted to redo it and see how good a job I can do now. So it'll take ages. It's not going to be one that I chuck together in a couple of months, but
you're not doing it for a turkey shoot then?
Yeah, I could do, can I?
Yeah.
But no, it's just something that I'm going to have in the background and just pull out and do an hour here and there on it.
Yeah.
If you look around on the internet, you see some stunning builds of the Airfix Spitfire. So it can be done if you're willing to put the time into it. But
well, it's like everything, isn't it? If you want to put the time into it and all the rest of it,
hold on.
Be beautiful.
Breaking news. Edard have showed an F4F Wildcat for 2022.
So they've gone Pacific for the...
Gone Pacific.
Oh.
So I think...
Didn't we call it the Marlet over here?
Something like that, yeah.
This is a £20... I paid £20 for this Spitfire, and it's a kit I wanted to build ever since I started building kits as a kid. And
That's all that counts.
That's what...
I'll tell you what, I'll be totally honest here, because Matt had his Hurricane, which is the Trumpy 24 scale one, isn't it? And I have to admit, I've got a hankering now to do just the normal camo one, the Mark 2C, because Matt's got his with the Trop one.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it looks absolutely stunning. It's a beast and a half, and like, as I say, if you get it, there's nobody, well, unless you want to do the old monogram Hurricane in 32nd. Or the Fly one, which not really. So, you know, if you want to put a bit of work into it, they do turn out very, very nicely.
You know what? That kit is very basic, I'd say, but is typical trumpeter. It goes together. It didn't give me any trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I'd do now is go back and probably weather it better, if that makes sense, because obviously I built it a long time ago, and obviously your skills and progress. I would go back and re-weather it, which I thought about doing a few times and never really got round to it. But as for a kit, I can't vouch for obviously the other 24th stuff, because I've looked at their D9 Focke-Wulf, especially for the Luftwaffe SIG. I have seen a few built up, and I don't think it's too bad. But I'd say if you want to do, I would do one, because they're all right. I don't think they're that bad at all.
I mean, Trumpy they got the 24 Stukas as well. I mean, I've got the Tank Buster one here.
Yeah, they've got all the versions of them, don't they?
But there are apparently, I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly what, but there are accuracy issues with them, fairly major ones. But certainly with the Airfix, the one thing they was pretty accurate. The detail might not be there compared to modern day, but accuracy wise, they're pretty much spot on.
Anyway,
next question. So anyway, we hope we've covered that one quite extensively for you, Nick. You've got some good ideas there.
Do you know what we should have done is answered these first, and then we'd have something to talk about.
Well, this is true. Okay, Winnebago John's back. And he says he's building the Polar Light Enterprise kits, and other builders have recommended to use adhesion promoter prior to painting. I was going to sand the surface with a 600 grit and then use Tamiya colour with rapid thinners to prime. Always seem to get good results this way. Your thoughts on adhesion promoter?
Yes, do it the way you've just said. Rub it down, put some primer on it. I don't get this adhesion promoter. This is for a certain type of plastic.
Yeah.
for painting car bumpers and plastic parts that've got no primer on them whatsoever.
So I don't know how bad the plastic is in the Polar Lights Enterprise kit.
Exactly. What is it made from? I tell you where you could probably. I've got an example here. Do you know the shells from Pig Model?
The Pig Model shell, tank shells.
That plastic they're done in, or whatever you want to call it, would be ideal candidate for adhesion promoter.
Drain pipe plastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And then primer it, but I can't see Polar Lights using that sort of styrene on a kit, because you can't stick it together very well either. You need super glue. It's what's the name of the stuff? The plastic.
It's
ABS.
ABS.
That's the
really
stuff.
Hard stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but it bends back in shape, doesn't it? If you
Clop it.
bang it, so it's got like elasticity in it.
Don't forget though, I'm a great believer, and you said it yourself. You've always had good results. Why do it somebody else's way when it could go wrong, and you're doing something where you don't normally do it? Why? What's the need? We're back to that thing about somebody says it's a good idea, so everyone runs off and does it. Why? If you've got good results and you usually have good, it comes out all right every time, why would you want to change it?
Don't change now.
Don't change anything.
You could try using Scotch-Brite as well, instead of using a grit sandpaper. Scotch-Brite, gives that.
Yeah, great.
At the end of the day, you just test. I mean, if it's the Enterprise, you've got the big, obviously, I'm guessing 2 halves for the saucer. Just spray the inside, innit?
Yeah.
And if the paint comes off easy, then you need to do something about it.
Should be fine. Okay, Stan, who's a new member alert. Welcome, Stan, to the site. He's only been a member a few days. So, welcome, Stan. He says, "Hi guys, what is your favourite 1/72 Airfix build?" Well, we've done quite a few as a team.
Yeah, true.
I do like the Airfix Spitfires. I was going to say Airfix Harriers.
Yeah.
Well, the 72nd ones, definitely nice group. I built those.
Quite enjoyed building the Hawk Typhoon. Was quite nice.
To be honest, any of the newer ones, like the Spitfire, because I've got the Spitfire up there as well, it's a lovely little kit. The Harriers, like John says, lovely little kit. As a team, we've all built the Phantom.
Yeah.
Me and Matt have done the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers, nice.
Mine would be the Bristol Belvedere. It's still in a box up on the roof.
We've also done the Sea Furies, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, 72nd though, did we? What about your Lightning? You built your Lightning in 72nd.
Oh, yeah, your Lightning.
Yeah, I've done a couple of Lightnings. They're nice kits.
Very nice.
Tell you what,
kits.
I got to say it was, I think, the Blenheim Mark 4, the long nose one. Is it Mark 4 or Mark 6, 7? Can't remember. Which is discontinued, but I really enjoyed doing that.
I'm going to say the new Spitfire.
I think they're all pretty good. They're all good, solid kits.
Yeah, I think you say Epic's come a long way, really. Really nice, solid ones. I think my favourite one out of them all, of all the ones we've done, especially as a team, was the Buccaneer. I thought the Buccaneer was a great kit. 72nd Buccaneer is a beautiful little kit. Goes together really, really well.
I'm saying yes, it's just you and Matt that did it, but yeah.
I'd say that or the Harrier, Phantom. Even the stencils thingy, but I like the Phantom.
As long as you get the intakes the right way round in it.
Ah, well, builder error that. It's not Airfix, my error. I'll own up to it.
But yeah, I think the Buccaneers are really. I think it's an upgrade over the other kits, if you know what I mean. The way it went together and the way they did it, it just went really, really well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
But even
the little vampires.
Yeah, I've done vampires.
I built the 2-seat vampire. That's a good little kit. The Provost.
Yeah.
Even though I built it, I haven't painted it, but I built it. There's a lot. I feel like, I don't know. I think you could just. I mean, we could have an whole show on Airfix.
I mean, any of the Spitfires in 72 are good. The modern ones. The Hurricane's good. The Focke-Wulf 190 is good. The 109E, the new one, just check because there's the old one still floating around reboxed. I don't think they've done a Duff 72 scale kit in ever. As long as it's a new tool, post 2000. 109G6 is a bit basic. But the MiG-15's a bit.
Their little Gladiator they redid was nice.
The Gladiator,
Swordfish, they redid the Swordfish. That was nice.
What about the Westland Wessex in 7-second? That's going to be beautiful kit.
It will
when
be
that-
lovely.
that-
Yeah.
Out of sweet when that comes out, isn't it? Yeah, or the Mosquito from Its Mozzie, yeah.
Yes.
I honestly God think if you're buying a recently tooled Airfix kit in 72, assuming it's not the Vulcan, you're spending between £5 and £25. You're not going to go wrong.
No.
So what we've come to the conclusion is we actually can't answer that
You
because
can't actually.
Like all of them.
Okay, I'll put my head on the bar. I think the best one I've done of recent is the Buccaneer. I thought the Buccaneer went together really, really nicely. No problem with that at all.
Yeah, I've built 2 of these Spitfires, and that's the proof in the pudding. I built one, and I bought another
That
one.
and the Hawk, that went together quite good.
Anyway, next question.
Next question. David says, Phil, I really enjoyed your bite-size video on fillers. For some time, I'll put this up on the screen as well because it's got a picture. Looking for some advice, advantages, disadvantages of water-based and putties. Many thanks. Can you give a quick explanation on when to use products down below? Right, okay. So basically the way you're working this is thickness as well, because obviously this is your standard tube putty. It's alcohol based in it. And you can thin it if you wanted to, or you could use it neat. So that's it. So that's big joins and all the rest of it. Dissolve putty is basically a thin version of this that is just ready to go. So it's pre-done. You could just thin this down with a little bit of lacquer thinners, and you could thin it and away you go. But that's down in there. And then really these two down in here are primers, if you like, in that scheme of it, but they're thick. So think of them like a thick primer. The great thing about these are if you've got like a surface problem with your model kit, if it's got like a bit of a texture to it, things like that, small little blemishes, like the 500 is absolutely great for it. So think of it like a really, really thin down putty that is going on there like that. And then obviously what you can get is 500, 1000, you can get 1200 and 1500 as well, can't you? For Mr. Surfacer, and they're just thinnesses of it. That go through, but basically they're all exactly the same thing, just a thinner version of this, just working your way through.
The Dissolve Putty and the Mr. Surfacer 500 very much have a crossover with each other.
Yes, definitely.
So you can use both of them on seam lines and things like that.
Yeah.
They're very much a similar sort of product, but they can use them in a similar way, but slightly different product. Yes, like I said, one's a
like
thin.
a perfect example of like Mr. Surfacer 500 is Airfix is talking of old 24 scale kits. Their Harrier has got the worst surface detail ever because it's got huge rivets and they're recessed, which at the time would have been cutting edge. Unfortunately, it looks like somebody did it with a 6-inch nail. So what I've done, because I built that kit a couple of times, Mr. Surfacer 500, and literally brushed it right over the entire model, walked away from it, let it dry, giving it then a complete sand over to half fill the rivet detail and then give it another coat over the top of it. And then normally in those days I used to literally airbrush Mr. Surfacer 1000 50-50 mix or a little bit more with lacquer thinners and blast that over it as well, and then resand it after it again, and you will take care of all of that. So it's great at filling detail that perhaps you didn't want. And the things we've been speaking about it, older kits, sometimes the surface can have like a grainy texture and things like that. You can actually just give it a blast of this right the way over it and then a rub down afterwards to improve the surface and the finish with it as well. So it's really good for that type of things. But like Mr. Surfacer 500, if you've got, you know, like a wing root that's particularly bad, like down in here, you know, and it's, you know, you've tried to glue it, you made a bit of a mess of it, you can give it a sand, clean it up a little bit, and then come in with 500, brush it onto it, let it dry off for a couple of days, and then sand it. And then that way you'll fill any imperfections down in there. So it's good for tricky areas as well. Like under here, when I used it, you would use it like the Mr. Dissolve Putty, and to be honest, you can see it in here, it's great, because afterwards I did it with 1000. Put it down into this and then just give it a wipe over with a cotton bud with a little bit of lacquer thinners to smooth it out. Intakes, and again, that's another great one for it. Brush it inside it and then go around with a cotton bud with a little bit of lacquer thinners to smooth it all out down in there as well. So that's a little good trick with it.
But it does change over time, doesn't it? Because I've got like, that's Mr. Surfacer 1000.
Yeah, it thickens up, yeah.
But it does thicken up because that's quite gloopy now. And you could do quite big gaps with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you can rejuvenate it by putting some, you know,
Yeah, you just
Yeah,
in
stick
it.
lacquer thinners back in it and mix it up and go again.
But they tend to, the higher the number, the thinner the pigments are supposed to be in it. A bit like sandpaper, the higher the number, the thicker, the smaller the.
Yes, it's the
Grains
particle count,
off.
isn't it, on it? So.
Yeah.
Darren's put up, hi guys, I'm wondering if you have any information on the Tamiya 1/35th scale M18 Hellcat release. And seeing as it's watermarked with a company name on it, I better not show the photo. But anyway, there's a picture of it out there as well. Will we be doing a pre-order for it? Thanks.
Yeah, we need a price.
Right, okay.
Andy's got it set up. I just need to find the price for it.
We spoke to our rep about it on Friday.
Yeah, well, you did.
I did. Was it Friday? I don't know what day it was.
Last Friday, yeah.
Yeah, and he mentioned it, but again, and I've got it all ready to go, but we've got a price.
No.
As soon as we find a retail price, we can.
We'll
do it.
Yes. Be nice to do a Hellcat. Good bit of armour.
I know somebody who wants to do one.
So do I. Is he going to do it?
Yeah.
Give you a video.
Kev wants to do one.
Kev wants to do.
Okay, Brian says, hi Phil and team, love the Doncaster episode about the storage. Have you considered putting in a mezzanine floor? We have at the back end. That's what we were walking on upstairs. So the back end's done, and then what we did was we built an office underneath it, which is obviously Matt's and Andy's home. Down
Domain.
in their little cave
Domain,
where that is in, and on the other side is a storage area as well. So that's got a top mezzanine area at the back, and we did think about extending it forward, but we don't think we need to. We've got an idea of what we're going to be doing and all the rest of it with it now, and we've already started the ball rolling on that. So we will watch this space for that one.
Matt was sat in the office where I normally spend most of my time, don't I?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was in your grave. Not literally.
That's exaggerated.
So yes, basically we have, as I say, it was a thought. We have said like in the future maybe we will just cover the entire thing with it, but at the moment I don't think we quite need it that way, all the way through. Anyway, Phil says, hi Phil and team, I've noticed on your tour of the unit you had sealer for metallizer, which is
I think he's seen things. I can't remember that ever being in top. To be perfectly honest, I think that was a trick of the light or an optical illusion.
It's been there forever, hasn't it?
Anyway, he's all right. He's not trying to buy any. He's actually saying, can you use it over metal finish, or will it react with it?
Well, it's a metalizer for thingy, so
yeah. It's actually, this is enamels. It's actually an enamel, and to be honest with you, it's not available anymore because this company is no longer with us. They went out of business a couple of years ago now, but it was the one to get. And to be honest, I've got a couple of bottles here of it. I don't really use it, and I have found basically a replacement for this now. And if you pay me cash, I'll tell you what that is. But anyway,
Attacker lacquer gloss coat. I'll tell you what it is.
It is. It's this stuff. I tell you what, this works exactly the same because it's what we used on this, which I didn't realise was going to work just as good as it did actually. But we sealed the metalizer effect with using the attacker, but normally that's what I would only use, but I forgot at the time because out of sight, out of mind. But
I can say that
if you want to seal it, attacker lacquer is great. 50-50 mix, rapid thinners, good to go.
over the years I've tried to put that stuff up on the website and Matt won't let me. So
he's waiting for it to have the second coming, like future or something, and then
Do you know what it is?
waiting for it to go yellow like the attacker lacquer.
That's it. I'm testing its longevity.
But anyway, going back to that one, basically, if you can get hold of the stuff, it's great because it's one of the few lacquers out there that I know, or a clear coat, you can put over a metalizer finish and it doesn't affect it. It doesn't make it go to silver or just so. It doesn't lose its luster, if you like, and things like that. But honestly, it was pure fluke, wasn't it? When we did the live show the other day, goes my canopy, and I used it on the Lightning, and actually it turned out really, really well, far better than I thought it was going to turn out. But anyway, that is the gloss. I'll give you that part number so you can run off and buy it. It's XP09. Really good. 50-50 mix with rapid drying thinners. Bosh. Job done.
Sold out of that.
Oh, is it? Right, okay.
No,
but you can, if you have got a bottle of the Model Master one kicking around, if that's the reason you're asking, then yeah, you can literally just spray it over any finish whatsoever. It's got a really good
I've
finish.
got a question about that stuff. If it's enamel based, how long does it take to dry? A week?
No,
month?
no, I've never
6
had a real
months?
problem because I cheat and use lacquer thinners with it.
Well, I thought it was already thinned.
No, I still thin it.
To what ratio?
To be honest, I haven't done it for a long time. I think the last thing we did with it, I'm just trying to think what it was. I've got a feeling it was that F104, wasn't it? Didn't we put it over that? Or was that someone else? I can't remember.
God.
So is that why you fobbed a bottle off onto me?
Yeah.
Matthew?
It's not fob. That
You're the guinea pig
generosity, that
tester.
is.
Donated.
Donated.
Thoughtfully gifted.
Yes.
That's it now. You do realise, Andy, you'll wake up tomorrow with a load of PMs saying we want a metalizer.
Won't because I'll be in hospital tomorrow morning.
There you go.
Well, you're only sat there, you'll be fine. You can still work as you're hooked up.
You got with you the phone.
Yes, you can still use your hands. It's fine. Okay, so yeah, that's what it is. You can use it over anything though. It's really good. But I always thin it a little bit of lacquer thinners, and it's always worked for me. So no problem there. Graham says, Andy, I hope you're feeling better soon. Nathan, do you
So
think
do we.
the Brasin 1/72 scale Tornado cockpit is worth buying, or do you think the Rebel cockpit is sufficient?
Right, I've got a 48th one. This is why you don't take models to model shows, because this one's in repair. The problem with it's a lovely set and it's really, really detailed. But the problem with Tornadoes is when you're looking at the cockpit, you're looking through the canopy. Because the canopy doesn't open that far and it lifts up. This one you can see here. So unless you're looking at the model sort of that level and you're twisting it like this, you are not going to see the cockpit. You literally can only see the work you do in the cockpit through the glass. So yes, it's nice and it is going to make a big difference. It's just my only concern is how much are you going to see.
And obviously this is 72nd scale he's on about, so you're going to
It's
see
72
bugger
scale. I mean, in 48th, you're kind of having to turn the model like this to see the cockpit. You kind of have to look at it. The only way you can see the cockpit is at a funny angle. Well,
So basically, what you're saying is, Nate, it's not worth it, is it?
Yeah, it's not worth it, really, is it?
I'm tempted to say all the work you're going to put in, you're going to look at it through a piece of glass.
I think, personally, I'd only ever put a set of resin seats in it.
Yeah, the red seats are worth it. I mean, if you're looking at it sort of straight on like that, you can see the side of the navigator's instrument panel. But the only way you can see anything, and you can't see anything in the navigator's cockpit at all.
Right.
From any angle, and you can. It's quite expensive, isn't it? So I'm thinking.
But that goes for the majority of cockpits anyway, doesn't it? You know.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the
how much
Tornado
they're
is
gonna see.
particularly bad because the cockpit doesn't open that far. So I'm like, I'm tempted to say, I wouldn't. I've never bothered with aftermarket cockpits and all the Tornadoes I've built.
Is that the one you rebuild every Telford?
This is the one that's lost its undercarriage and all sorts of stuff. This is why you don't take models to model shows. So this one's in sort of it's in fix it later shelf. It's lost.
Can you go and pick up my 410 then, please, Nathan?
You know, you don't need it yet, John. It's fine. Anyway, John's got far too much time on it now because he's just counted. There's 10 bottles of the actual Model Master sealer. Apparently, we had on the shelf. They're going back and watching it.
Yeah, they're in. Trust me, there's not. It's an illusion.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're trying to...
Okay, Krista says, "Damn it, Phil! Your joke about Andy yesterday got my heart to jump into my throat for a second.
Did me as well.
A good one." Bless. Okay, Thomas has put up, hi all, a question about weathering and rusting of tracks. I stumbled across a YouTube video of Russians excavating battlefields in the, where's that, Shamush Islands? I can't show that photo, we might get banned or something for that. But anyway, he's on about armour, so, and he's got some rusty things up here.
See, Japanese were making plastic tracks back then.
Yeah, look, yeah, why isn't that rusted?
They're ahead of the time.
Anyway, he says in there the hulks are burned and the accelerated the corrosion of the armour itself. But the tracks look pretty good. They do, don't they? It's obviously some different alloy, isn't it?
was about to say
Yeah.
there must be a different metal, or it's changed the molecular structure with being on fire. I don't know. Normally tracks do rust, but not like I think you see on armour. I think what he's getting at is why do they do rusty tracks?
Mm-hmm.
And they do rust, but not like, obviously, because they're obviously a lot thicker than the sheet metal that they built the tanks from. It's only
Yes.
a bit of.
You still get surface
steel,
rust
innit?
on them, though, don't you?
You
I
what,
was going to
sorry?
say, is this
Okay,
what we're
so-
talking here? Because obviously these would have been cast iron, I assume. And then obviously this over here would have been steels
Steel.
and various things as well. So perhaps that's just different metallics, corrosion, different rates and things.
Yeah, but after 60 odd years, you think that iron would have.
Because if you look at the bolts, they haven't rusted the same as the rest of it, as the hub.
I'll tell you what, to say how old that is, a bit of WD-40 and you could probably take them wheels off. Surely that's a bit.
I think you need a blowtorch to get them off.
Well, you know what I'm getting at. See
Yeah,
how
the,
many.
the tracks look reusable, though, don't they?
Yeah, the tracks do look very good.
It looks like they've been planted there or something else. That's
It's
bizarre.
weird how the corrosion on the bodywork is really deep and heavy, and then they look like someone just.
What tank is it? A child? I don't know, Japanese tanks.
I don't
It's
know.
a char. It's a chi-char something or
So-
char.
Each are into
Andy and Matt, then, seeing as you're the armour experts, what are your views on when you see models then of what look to be perfectly workable and serviceable tanks, and the modeler has rusted the hell out of the tracks?
Well, I've got a thing with this with aircraft modelers and exhausts. Why
Yeah,
do they
not
paint
rust.
exhaust bright orange like the rusted? Because it wouldn't be like that in real life.
No, not at all.
It's the same scenario, but I know what
See,
you get.
it's hard, isn't it? Because you know, if you wash your car and then you go and look at your brake discs the day later,
Yeah.
it's
Lots
rusty.
of on them, yeah.
Yeah, they get
Unless,
surface
unless you've got
rust,
carbon
right?
fibre. Unless you've got
Yeah,
carbon
but it doesn't
fibre.
stay like that as soon as you start using the.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if as soon as it moves, then the rust wears off it again. But if it's been sat there for a week unused,
You're going to get it in the links, though, aren't you? In the
Yeah.
pins are going to rust.
yeah, but
Rather
sure the tracks, if they're made out of cast iron,
Mhm.
they're going to rust as well until they start moving again, and then the rust will wear off dead quick because it'll wear off the road, wear off the wheels, the moving parts going against each other, come off dead quick. If it's been sat there in a service yard for even a short period of time, a week, 2 weeks or whatever, then
Rusty
the naturally
looking.
rust because it's unprotected metal.
Yeah, here we go. We're going to have some insight in a minute. No, we're not. Thought somebody were going to get back to me. Somebody will put it up who's worked on armour vehicles and if they do or not. But they look super duper clean compared to the rest of it. It just don't look right to me. They must,
Yeah, I'm trying to find
Yeah.
like
see
they
what
look like
weight
plastic. Look like plastic tracked.
Again, I think that sometimes you get the differences in the metal and the alloys and stuff like that, and obviously they all corrode and do different things at different rates because it's how, like we're talking about brake discs, because you've got that thing about it's a very very film over the top, isn't it? That corrodes instantly. Yeah, as you say, you wash your car, you look at your brake discs, because mine do it, and you know, because they're quite big on that one, they stand out, and often I think, crikey, you know, it's quite expensive and they rust. You wouldn't think they would really, but clearly because it's a warm piece, isn't it? If it's wearing, it's exposing it, so there's no oils on it, there's nothing to protect it, it's just being exposed completely all the time. So perhaps that would be the thing as well. But different alloys are different metals. I'm sure tank tracks are different, so made of metal than what the rest of it is. The wheels are and all of those.
I was going to say them Japanese, I think they were like mild steel, a lot of them. They weren't really very armoured in, you know, or very thick armour, were they? So,
No.
like you said, it's just different rate of corrosion, I suppose.
Yeah,
I don't
think
really know. It's
obviously
just,
the carbon count of the metal as well being different, I should think that would make a large thing of it. So
I don't know. I don't know much about the sort of physics, I suppose, of it. It's the iron
I found
content,
another photo of one where
climate.
they've not rusted.
Must be
We,
perhaps they've got hammerite on them. Something.
obviously, what they were cast out of, innit?
It
Yeah,
could be
that's it.
stainless steel.
I was going to say they're obviously not. They're like a non-ferrous metal, aren't they?
Yeah.
If they're not rusting.
Titanium or something.
Gary, aliens.
Aliens. Yeah, what? Come and clean them?
Tony says on here, hi Phil, I'm not sure the best place for the question. I wasn't sure where else to put it. He says, signed up as a member in July, but notice he's listed as an EU member and not a UK member. Does this make a difference? I live in sunny Dudley. There you go.
Hey,
Dudley.
Hey, that's in a foreign country to us, isn't
That
it?
is definitely foreign. That's north.
Midlands.
Or south if you're that way from Matt's side.
South for us. Yeah.
You're a soft southerner to Matt.
In the north,
To me, you're a northerner, so it's fine. Anyway, does it make a difference? No, not really. But what it is, obviously, if you're listed as EU, it means you signed up the EU way, which is probably via Patreon, because Patreon lists you as an EU member because that's what you should be. But it doesn't make any difference. It's just that it keeps you as separate, so we can tell from a VAT point of view, because obviously Patreon pays all the VAT, and obviously I have to pay the VAT if you come in via the rest of the world or UK. So it's just an accounting way of us doing it, but differences none whatsoever. You're fine. Apart from you can get into Patreon and see everything in Patreon instead of coming on the site, because it's all doubly listed over in Patreon land as well. So yes, and there we go. That's the last of the questions.
Is that it? 9:15. We were over by 15.
We'll have to charge extra.
Well,
Yeah.
Fine.
Overtime. Apparently, Russell says the Ruskies, is that politically correct? Are you allowed to say that now?
No.
Poured engine oil over their tracks and wheels in winter. They use them to keep. Oh god, it's moving. To keep them oiled after changing. It cans back on. Oh right, yeah, changing. It comes back on. I think he means. So.
That's what you need to do to your brake discs. Chuck some oil over it, stop them rusting.
Yeah, Vaseline, grease them up.
Just brake earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you
Start
do
a
that,
fire when you start braking.
like, yeah.
Yeah, like cast iron street lamps. Yeah, see? It's a bit like they see them down at the beach. They got rid of all of our ones down in Torquay. We used to have all these gorgeous Victorian cast iron bits with the railings at the seafront.
Yeah.
And then one day somebody went along and replaced them for plastic. So there's
Really?
a bit of an uproar about this because they've been there since the 18 whatevers with the Victorian times, but they've all been replaced for plastic because apparently it's cheaper. You know, because you've got to paint them every year and all the rest of it. But they've lasted very well until they got removed and changed. So.
And thank you for all the best wishes.
Yes. Roger says, when is Rapid Thinners back in stock? Are we out?
We've not had it. They're out of stock at suppliers, so I don't know.
Right, okay.
Got no idea. I'm afraid.
If they're
Sorry.
in, they'll be in.
Yeah. Don't know. When we did the last order, they didn't have any, did they, Andy?
I think we ordered loads, didn't we? And
We did. We did order lots, and lots didn't turn up. So unfortunately, I've got no idea until we do a next order, and then we'll put it on again, and we'll see. We don't know stock levels, you see, for said company. We just put orders in and see what turns up. Bit of a lottery.
Yes, that's it. You don't know what you're going to get. It's all a surprise.
It is. Because as you mentioned it yesterday, I was cringing when you mentioned Rapid Dinners yesterday because I knew this would happen.
I'm
And I was
sorry.
like,
Sorry.
no, be quiet.
Other thinners are available, don't forget.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that will do for us then tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. A pleasure as always. Big thank you for the team and everything. I'd say I'll be with you tomorrow for a recap show. It won't be very long because, as I say, we've just been all over the place. But I have done the review for the Hind. So the 48 scale Hind, which obviously if you've seen the Zvezda review, it's just the upgrade. But I do flick through the book with you and show you the extras and all the aftermarket bits that come with it as well. So if you want to see that one, that will be up with you tomorrow as make our way through. And then this weekend I'm going to be working anyway, so I'm going to sort out getting a bit on, probably get on with me sub and stuff like that. So hopefully by next week things will return totally to normal, which will be very good as well. Cool. Very good. Big thank you to the team. Good luck for Andy for tomorrow.
tomorrow just
Top up.
Top up. You having another,
Top up.
you know?
yeah. I'm having steroids at the moment to try and combat something, but then when they were looking at something, they found something else. I've got to go into an operation. So I've definitely been on next Thursday. Probably not the Thursday after. If I'm not on the Thursday after that, then something serious has gone wrong.
If there's a candle in his place, you know it didn't go well. All right. So
They'll be selling everything off. So
Telling everyone you're going in for a course of steroids before you go in for the operation.
yeah. So if he's looking a bit busty next week,
it's not.
it's gone well.
Definitely not that type of steroid.
Hey, how do you know what the side effects will be?
Oh yeah, true.
It's just the way he walks. Right, okay then guys, we will leave it there. Happy modelling, take care. I'll catch you tomorrow, and this motley crew will catch you all next week, no doubt. So until later, everybody, say goodbye. We're out of here. Hold on, leave me clappy thing. Where's me clappy thing? There it is. Final clap. There you go. Right, okay, we're out of here. Bye.